The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to the Central City Citizen, a PapiChuloRadio.com original series. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. Today is Thursday, April 6th, 2023, and I'm your host, Professor X. During this podcast, we'll be having an in-depth discussion on the CW's The Flash. Please welcome my co-host, Dimitri Jasinger.
What's good, Central City?
And Jeffrey Arun.
Hey, Central City.
Let's jump into our discussion of Season 9, Episode 8, which was titled Partners in Time and aired April 5th, 2023. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. A seemingly simple mold inspection at Star Labs leads to unexpected time anomalies. Barry and Iris try to make sense of the confusion and figure out how to get back to their reality. Chester admits a secret to Allegra, which makes things awkward between the two, and Allegra relies on Cecile to act as a buffer. Meanwhile, Keon meets with an old friend of Team Flash. That last sentence was so totally unnecessary given what happened in the episode, but it was there. What can I tell you? Also, is she really an old friend? Anyway.
She's our friend.
I guess. In the year 2123, a hooded figure walks through the Flash Museum after hours and goes right for the weapons vault, accessing it and trying to go for a specific weapon, but trips the alarm and has to flee. So apparently Star Labs is only checked for health and safety every century or so, which explains a lot when you think about it. Back in the present, Barry paints Nora's crib. He's very excited for Nora to be born. Iris gifts Barry with a copy of an old magazine that featured his father, and I really thought that was going to be a much more significant thing. Like there was going to be a big payoff to that, and it just Barry was going to be reading it a little bit later. Barry races off because a mold inspection, as I mentioned, is going to take place at Star Labs. Dimitri, what did you think of the opening?
I'm with you that I was expecting a bigger payoff for that magazine. I also, there was some reference to Barry doing something for Iris and this moment sort of coming back full circle. I'm going to be honest, I didn't remember it. I don't know if either of you did. But
the ice cream.
What's it?
No. In this one, it was the ice cream for Nora.
No, this reference Barry getting Iris something for her mother, like some reference to Iris's mother, and then it comes full circle because now she's gotten him, this thing that he wanted referencing his dad. But I honestly didn't remember what it was that he had handled regarding her mother.
Her mother's dead.
Yeah, as is Barry's father, right?
Oh,
but,
yes.
It was some reference to like seasons prior. We can move on. But I think that was supposed to be like a parallel that I just didn't catch. But I thought it was a cutesy opening. I really am, I'm loving Iris's new look. Really loving sort of the new tone of this episode. It kind of throws back to the quirkiness of earlier seasons without being, just flat out stupid. I mean, there were stupid parts later, but I did think it was sort of, a cutesy opening, Barry painting the crib. We get to see them as sort of a happy couple without, anything looming, which we haven't in a minute. So I liked the opening. I think it set up for a good tone in this episode overall.
Well, you raise a point that I was going to bring up later, but yeah, overall the tone of this episode, I liked it. It gave me very season 1 vibes. It felt much more lighthearted. There was no, big bad threatening the universe, and even the threat that Barry and Iris had to deal with. It didn't feel as cataclysmic as we've come to expect from Flash. And I found that, refreshing, and there was a lot of humor. I checked it, and, the director of the episode is a first-time Flash director. It's not like they went back to the well of someone who's done it a dozen times. This was, someone fresh coming in and had some interesting, things. Not only brought, that humor out of the actors, but also there were a couple of scenes that I thought were shot really well as well. But overall, I really liked the tone of this episode. And I'm just going to forestall, Dimitri from mentioning the F word, filler. I wouldn't say this is filler because filler is when you've got a big arc and you're just filling in time. We aren't in the middle of an arc. There's no arc going on right now. So, I mean, these episodes are just sort of character development episodes. We're not forestalling, the big bad or anything like that. So in that sense, it feels a little bit different from what we would normally deride as a filler episode, where we're just waiting to see what, Reverse Flash or Bloodwork or whomever is going to do.
I agree. I think I was almost waiting for last episode and this episode to have some sort of implication for Iris's pregnancy, because that's almost the arc we're in is, can Iris deliver this baby without, some sort of bad thing happening? Last episode it was, if her fever doesn't break, it'll damage the baby. But this one seemed to be purely no stakes. Like, they're stuck in a loop, but Nora's fine. Nora's not even threatened the whole episode.
Yeah, and personally, I found that delightful. Just a little break from the relentlessness that we sometimes get in an Arrowverse show. At Star Labs, Barry tries to calm Keon's nerves about meeting Caitlin's mom, Carla, that good friend of Team Flash. Barry sends Chester home, says he can handle the mold inspector himself, but a whole team shows up. Turns out code enforcement for the DOE is there as well, and Iris, who has somehow made it from their apartment to the lab almost as fast as Barry did, offers to help deal with the inspectors. The inspectors have a lot of questions, and Team Flash has a lot to hide. When Barry goes to lead them to the breaker box, however, they end up back in the speed lab they just left. They try again, and it happens again. That's when the mold inspector notices a random grandfather clock. It ominously chimes. Typical Flash shenanigans, but having civilians there adds a bit of a complication. Jeff, what did you think of the inspectors?
They were interesting. I mean, they were taken sort of out of, central casting for, stereotypes. You know what I'm saying? The really nerdy lady, the old one, the young one that, secretly loves superheroes. They were all kind of, just generic tropes. But because, we had them and clearly the reaction that both Barry and miraculously Iris West Allen had to them, I was like, okay, there's comedic potential here that I was looking forward to, because, we have now these strangers in Star Labs. We have our star couple as their tour guide. So clearly shenanigans were going to ensue, and shenanigans did shenaniguys.
And I think actually one of the inspectors actually made a comment about we don't like shenanigans,
Yes.
which was somewhat ironic given the way the entire shenanigan nature of the episode played out. It turns out the clock's from the 19th century, but looks like it was just built. One of the inspectors thinks it's a prank. Barry lets them believe that they're being pranked while he and Iris try to figure out what's actually going on. Barry decides to run to the future for answers, and Iris tries to stall the inspectors. But a blue energy wave goes through the speed lab, and suddenly Iris is dressed very differently. Barry also gets dropped off in the lab, and he's also dressed differently. And soon, all of the inspectors are wearing clothes from different time periods. Could it be the Legends of Tomorrow? Nope, it wasn't. Barry has to reveal that he's the Flash. What a shock. One of the inspectors passes out in what I thought was a really nice comic moment, because you have sort of the older, no-nonsense inspector saying, okay, I understand, and then immediately passes out. I really like Barry's Star Trek cosplay, or Star Trek TNG cosplay, I should say. Dimitri, what do you think of Iris's new look?
I mean, Candice Patton slays almost every look she wears. I think it still doesn't top the sort of retro Iris that we got the last time. I don't know, her wardrobe was transported through time, but it was still a lot of fun.
Why don't I remember retro Iris?
She's got like a fro. She's got I don't know how to describe her outfit.
Okay, that sounds delightful.
I just think 70s.
Okay. What would we call her style of dress? Was it Elizabethan, a Shakespearean, Renaissance fair?
Well, the neck piece almost looked like it was African derived.
I thought it was Egyptian.
Oh, okay. I'll go with that too.
But yeah, the inspector, one of the inspectors is clearly in like Victorian sort of garb. But yeah, I thought she slayed the look, pretty well. But I also didn't think it was like anything earth shattering. I think most of the humor revolved around like how like the inspectors' outfits and how like out of place they looked. But I do think Candace Patton sort of rides the moment with a lot of a lot of great comedic presence, which is something we don't get to see Iris do that much. She has like little moments here and there. Um, but actually, I feel like sort of early seasons are like the last time we got to see Iris, sort of be just full on funny. And the whole awkward way she's riding through this, the way she doesn't want to like share her casserole, the way she's sort of trying to make it seem like everything's okay while handling the inspectors. Definitely over the top, but very cute, very nicely done.
No, and you're right. Like we don't, because, and part of it is, they've been putting Iris in, dangerous situations, trapping her in alternate dimensions, giving her time sickness and stuff like that. It's nice to have an episode where they can sort of like just breathe and Candace Patton can be funny because she's actually quite good at it. It was nice that, between the script and giving her room to do that she was able to be funny. But I think a lot of the characters got some funny moments in the episode. At the West House, Allegra and Chester are playing Scrabble when she gets a notification on her phone. She's being described as a new light meta on social media, who is, of course, described as looking a lot like Allegra. Chester tries to hype her up and accidentally tells her he loves her. Oops, things are a little awkward. Then Cecile comes home and Allegra has her come play games with them. Now, Cecile knows something's off. I've said before how awkward it would be having a super empath as your landlord, and I think this episode shows I was right. Jeff, how did you like how Chester and Allegra played the awkwardness, and do you think Cecile was meddling too much?
I enjoyed the awkwardness. I mean, something that I've said from the start. I'm so glad. I mean, if you're going to pat yourself on the back, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I've always said Allegra needs a costume. I mean, she shows up, her face is out there, and she's doing superhuman, super heroic stuff, and she thinks nobody's going to find out that it's her. Like, it makes no damn sense to me. So I'm glad that this came back around and bit her in the ass. I mean, just wear like a little bandit mask or something. Like, I mean, it's that simple. The people in Central City and in the Arrowverse period are so stupid. They get so confused when it's like eyewear or headgear that they have no idea it's not you when you're not wearing that. So that's all she needed to do, but she didn't. She didn't pay attention. But anywho. So that was really great that they brought that up. And then Chester and Allegra being adorkable was delightful. Writers, we could have had all of this for like a year and a half, but you waited so fucking long for it to happen. I mean, they have great chemistry together. It was cute. They were cutesy. He said, I love you too fast. She clearly was kind of going to say it, but she has trauma that she has to deal with. Cecile was being a little bit too much, but she was kind of being like Mama Bear. And let's be for real, her daughter is never in any of the scenes with her, so she needs something to do. And might as well be Mama Bear to her new roomie. I will say, as you said, Professor, having an empath as not just your like landlady, but like your friend and you're living in her house and all that kind of stuff, you can't really think illicit things about your boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, because she's going to know, and that's like creepy. Cecile, stop listening to what they're saying in their minds.
Well, even if Chester wanted to, go over and, hang out in her room, you'd have to choose a time when Cecile wasn't home because empathic abilities presumably work, through walls.
Yes, she can feel what they're feeling, which might be a fun little moment for her because Joe's out of town,
Maybe that's why Cecile offered. She was thinking about,
Yes, I like that.
Mom is feeling a little lonely. Anyway, now that everyone back at Star Labs is aware that Barry is the Flash and that Iris is Mrs. Flash, they have to figure out what's going on. One of the inspectors has a theory. Space and time has lost elasticity for them in what's apparently called a time magnet. Apparently, in the future, the Speed Lab is a weapons vault, and it houses a time magnet, which was what was being stolen in the opening scene. And when whoever stole it they forgot the stabilizer. This means someone in the room is a thief. So now it's kind of like a game of Clue, and I liked it. It felt like a bit like a classic locker room mystery, including delightful scene where Iris is going around scanning everyone and like pausing for the significant, "You are not the thief. You are not the thief." It sort of felt like, as I say, like a classic Agatha Christie where, Hercule Poirot is going around and explaining why this person couldn't have done it or that person couldn't have done it. And I liked it. I thought it gave it a very nice, a very different feel from a traditional Flash episode. As they scan everyone and clear them, the argumentative investigator is turned to a statue. He's effectively dead. And they realize if they don't get out of there soon, they're all next. Barry and Iris talk. Iris continues to worry about being able to do what she wants because she's pregnant. She says it's like she's stuck in the past and Barry's getting to race to the future. That triggers Barry to realize who the time thief is, the fake electrical inspector, which was, kind of tipped early in the episode. She reveals herself as Lady Kronos, a thief from the future, and turns the other two inspectors into gnome statues. Dimitri, what did you think of this week's baddie, Lady Kronos?
First of all, the comparison to Agatha Christie, I think, is far, far too generous for this.
It was more like Clue the movie, right?
Yeah.
Flames on the side of Iris Salmon's face.
Clue the movie is still generous, but closer to form.
Maybe like the Babysitter's Club's interpretation of Clue the movie.
Yeah, something like that. Like,
okay, good.
Encyclopedia Brown fan fiction, maybe. So full disclosure, I watch a lot of mysteries, but immediately when she didn't know what a breaker box was, I was like, oh, that's the thief. And I thought all the characters were going with the assumption that she's the thief. I thought that's why, because we see Iris giving her like a specially sharp stare when she scans her with the radiation thing. And then Iris is like, oh, you're not the thief. But then the whole reason they crack the case and Barry's like, you're not the only one who's been messing things up, is realizing what I thought all the characters had realized in the beginning, which is that this supposed electric inspector didn't know what a breaker box was. But it's never explained, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think
about
they
the
ever
radiation.
explained why the radiation scan didn't work on her if she was the thief this whole time. Like,
she took a quick shower and washed off the radiation.
Already. Well, no, remember it was a theoretical thing. The
nerdy lady.
The idea was that maybe there would be a different radiation. There was no guarantee.
Yeah,
I guess, but like this did feel like they were, setting up a whodunit episode, but like whodunits tend to have kind of fixed rules. That's part of like what makes it fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not as fun when we know the done it before the who.
Yeah. So they're like locked room mysteries. Like the room is locked. Only one of these four people could have done it. Nobody could have, theoretically someone could have picked the lock, killed the person, snuck back out, and then relocked the room. But, that doesn't happen in a whodunit. Like, typically in a whodunit, if you're like, this would lead to this. Especially on a show like The Flash, where it's like, theoretically, you could run so fast, you can punch him in the face. But, if my calculations are off, you could shatter every bone in your body. Yeah, theoretically, that might not work out, but it always works out for Barry. I just, the radiation thing bothered me. And then, I guess I just assumed Iris was like, you're the one who fucked up the breaker box. That's why I'm scanning you extra hard. And then Barry's like, she fucked up the breaker box. She must be the thief. I just thought it was kind of a disappointing payoff. I really thought it was going to be like something like, oh, the Legends of Tomorrow are also in the room or something.
We always need them in the room.
I agree with you, except that when we, got to see, Lady Kronos later in the episode, she was the sort of arrogant person who would just sort of breeze in there and, think that she could get away with it. I think, what little we found out about her character, because I was kind of thinking that too, that anyone who came back in time would obviously, work in their backstory. But, when she started talking, I realized, no, she's just, she's got the tech, but yeah, she's the sort of person who would absolutely get into this sort of situation.
Yeah. Can we give a shout out to the AAPI representation? I enjoyed that. I like what she brought to the mix.
Oh, wait a second. They played her in whiteface. Come on. This was
Played her
clearly
in
white casting.
whiteface.
I
am
mean,
shocked that the Flash would go there.
I can't.
props for breaking stereotypes. Asians can not only be electrical inspectors, they can also be criminals.
Yes, there you go. Can I just
will
say,
though-
well,
Oh,
just
sorry,
real
go ahead.
quick, the white makeup was an interesting fashion choice. But what I loved the most was every time they'd zoom in on her face, you'd hear the grandfather clock, clong, and I'm like, is she making those noises because of her clock face?
At the
I
house, the
will-
game of Settlers of Catan just gets awkward, and Chester, who I noticed was hitting the root beer pretty hard, decides to leave. Cecile asks Allegra what's going on. Allegra tells Cecile that Chester said he loves her. Cecile is thrilled, but Allegra's afraid of being abandoned or worse, and explains her backstory as to why that would be. Cecile tells her to be in the moment and enjoy it, not worry about what might happen. A couple of years ago, this might have been a Papa Joe talk. Dimitri, how would you like the Mama Cecile version?
I hated it, not because Cecile did anything
What?
wrong, but dear God, this is so overdone in the Arrowverse. I love this person, but whenever someone gets close to me, bad things happen.
Oh, okay, yeah, that has
It's
been
better
done.
for you to not get close to me, even though we've been getting close for 19 seasons now.
And clearly
and-
they've been having the sex.
Yeah. Presumably, this is one of the few episodes where there seemed to be a clear reference to having sex.
Right? We're going to
Um,
get to that because I was all ears.
Yeah. Maybe so was Cecile, but
Yes.
I just something else, like anything else. I'm worried he's gonna find out I fart in my sleep, like anything. But this
That's not
same
family friendly.
absolutely done to death, tired storyline of I love this person, but you can't get close to me. It's older than Smallville at this point. Oh my God. I like literally have honestly, I wish they would have kept with the silly theme of this episode and something like Chester says, I love you, and then Allegra suddenly loses her voice or something. Like just this was so unnecessary. It's such like love arc filler, and this particular romantic arc has taken so long to pay off that I do think the entire audience is just out of patience with it. And you really should tread carefully in terms of how much you stretch other things out. Like this storyline.
Well, they'll be
just
stretching
needs to
out
be in
later.
there. But nicely done, Jeff. But
Yes.
yeah, I oh my God, like I'm gonna sprain like the muscles that roll my eyes, but why?
Well, and it also, it doesn't make sense because it's one thing that, if you're like keeping someone at arm's length because, you've been burned in the past. But in her case, she's dating the guy. And as Jeff insists, they're having the sex.
Yes.
And I put air quotes around the sex.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of not being willing to say, I love you. So it's not even like she, was, resisting the relationship for that reason. They're in a relationship. She's just unwilling to say it. And sort of, kind of with the justification that everyone I say that to dies felt a little, meh. And it's not like she said she loved, whichever Wells it was that, we saw the recap of
Nash.
of him. Nash Wells, disappearing in front of her. So yeah, I agree with you. It was a bit overdone, but I've never been the biggest Allegra fan, but I actually, like Kayla Compton in this episode. I thought she was, I thought that I may not have agreed with the arguments she was making, but I thought she did them well.
Can I also just say the fact that we got a reminder that everybody she loves disintegrates in front of her eyes? I had forgotten that they both just sort of poofed into sparklies.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, she's no, Caitlin, but still.
Right. Well, no, Caitlyn's just die. I mean, they die, they're dead. But like her loved ones, she cradles them and they like turn into fireflies. I'm like, okay. I didn't remember that both of them sparkled away.
but like just don't cradle like that makes no sense. Like, and then the whole time she's like, I'm worried he's gonna leave, and he's like, none of these people left. They all died. I mean, if you're worried he's gonna die, I mean, someday he is gonna die. But this was exasperating. I just let them be happy. It took so long for this to pay off. Like, wasn't here for it.
Back at Star Labs, Lady Kronos explains what happened in the future. Strap yourselves in. She saw the date of the inspection and came to that date in the past so she could then use that in the right location to go to the future and steal the time magnet. But she can't go back there now because her time belt needs a charge and she doesn't want to give up her ill-gotten booty. Unfortunately, the stabilizer that was also in the room is something that she didn't steal, and that's why things are going crazy in the present. Barry offers to charge her time belt, and she reluctantly lets him as she realizes she'll be the next to die otherwise. She then uses the time belt to go back to the future and put the time magnet back, even though she will be arrested. The others are restored to life. Everything's fine and reset. The inspection goes on. Timey-wimey shenanigans, but you know what? I honestly didn't mind. And what sold it for me was we got that great scene with Iris and Barry describing the Flash, and Barry describing him as handsome, and, Iris reacting
She
to that,
said
giving him a
handsome.
side eye, and then handsome. So I think part of the reason why I enjoyed the episode so much, as I said before, was that it had a bit of wackiness, a bit of season one feel to it. Jeff, how did you like the way things wrapped up? A little too neat for your tastes?
You know what? It was an enjoyable episode as much as, I've been sort of harping on like the silly stuff, or harping on silly stuff. It was enjoyable. Okay, the thing that I did not understand is she was like, I'm going to be the next one to die because I have been holding on to this thing the longest. I'm like, well, shouldn't you have been like the first to die? Because like, I feel like other people died before you. So I didn't really understand that.
Well,
Yeah,
she
the other
says-
guy touched it,
Okay.
and it wasn't coded to his DNA, so that's why
it
he
wasn't
changed
coded
into
to
a
his DNA.
statue. And by the
she
way,
said also like her mask protects her or something.
Or her belt.
She said something like,
Her
"Oh, my mask
utility
can't
belt?
protect me for much longer." I think is what she said.
by the way,
Okay.
timely shout out the fact that when they did have the statue of David, it had a fig leaf because we wouldn't want to offend school districts in Florida.
That is true. Although,
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Poor David.
yeah, it was probably what they could find in
posthumously.
Canada, though. I mean, let's be real.
Well, here we just cover up because otherwise they'll freeze and fall off. But Jeff,
Yeah.
you were talking about how you liked how the Lady Kronos situation resolved itself.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of timey-wimey, as you said, shenanigans. There was a lot of, time travel techno babble that was fascinating to hear, made no sense to me, but worked at the end of the day. I have no idea if she's a comic book villain. I'm going to assume because she's very ridiculous looking with the whole clock face thing that she is a comic book villain because she kind of looks like a comic book villain. So that would not surprise me. Once again, her whole look was fascinating. I did like that she became a bit more animated as like an actor once she became like Lady Kronos. When she was just sort of like, I'm gonna check that box thing, she played it very straight, like straightforward, serious, no nonsense and that kind of stuff. And then once she unleashed her inner cuckoo clock, she had a lot of flourish to her delivery, and slightly, mustache twirling villainous over the topagenness, which I did enjoy because she looks like a ridiculous villain. So her being kind of ridiculous and very intense in her ridiculosity was very nice. One thing that I didn't mention, and I feel like no one talked about it when you recapped it, Professor, is that really great conversation that the West Allens had at the tippy top of the Speed Lab. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was wonderful to see the West Allens together, something that we complained about for a moment, and I understand now, and I think we even understood it at the time, COVID protocols and this, that, or the other. We couldn't have many intimate moments between Iris and Barry over the past, 2 seasons. I get it. We were living in a crazy world. I understand. But now that we're kind of out of that, it's great to see them together, united, being intimate, not in that sort of way, but, just, being close together and hearing, their intimate thoughts and that kind of stuff. It's really nice. Although I will say this, and I don't know if y'all will judge her. Listen, I love me some Iris West Allen. Probably not as much as Dimitri, but who can? Vanilla bean ice cream is your favorite?
Hey, you know what? A really good vanilla bean ice cream is really good.
Okay. But
Also, pregnant
I
women have
mean,
weird,
she is dating
weird
Barry
cravings.
Allen.
ooh.
Yeah, ooh.
He is very vanilla bean. Yeah. He's also
No,
white.
I also like that scene with Barry and Iris. I was going to mention it a little later as a little shout out to the director. It was a very subtle thing he did there, but that was the only scene. That scene was the only one. It was shot handheld. And the camera was much closer, and you could actually see it moving a little bit, which sort of played up the intimacy of the moment in a way that you wouldn't get shooting in a more conventional way. So I think that was an interesting stylistic choice. And also, using the camera to track from face to face rather than doing cuts, I thought was also interesting. Yeah, a little shout out to the director as well as to the actors and the writers of that scene. Later, Barry and
Also,
Iris.
one more shout out. The moment where that scientist like, I would love to observe your biochemistry
Yes.
if we ever get out of here. And Iris is like, bitch, the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
That was,
that's
again,
exactly the look.
like I said, it's
Picture
it's a bit
perfect
like back in the
side-eye.
days, a bit like back in the days of Legends. I always said that one of the things I loved most about Legends was stuff that was going on behind the scene, the reactions that people were having. And yeah, I clocked that one with Iris having that reaction as well. It was,
Clocked, Lady Kronos.
haha. Anyway, at the end of the episode, Barry and Iris talked to Keon. The lab has passed all the inspections. Things also went well with Keon and Carla. Thank God, because if they'd mentioned that in the summary and we hadn't gotten the resolution to that, it would have been a nightmare. Allegra finds Chester at Jitters. She opens up to him and tells him she loves him too. Then they go off. I'm sure Jeff will want to mention that.
Yeah.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow. Barry and Iris enjoy some ice cream. I just want to say that 9 years of watching this show and other Arrowverse shows has left me stinger sensitive. So after Chester and Allegra had their nice moment, I saw there was still time in the show and I thought, uh-oh, how are things going to break bad? Then, even as Barry and Iris are settling in with their ice cream, vanilla bean, and the camera pulls back through the window, I was convinced there'd be a big bad lurking out there. But no, just a nice, happy ending. Jeff, what did you think?
All right, I did double check. Lady Kronos is an actual character, and she does have the white face with the clock on her forehead. I don't know if she goes clong every time they zoom in on her in the comics, but it was a nice little effect in the episode. Okay, so Chester and Allegra, they have chemistry. They were cute. The euphemism that we got when he was like, I'm going to be up all night, and she's like, I know how to work off that energy, and they both dirty looked at each other, and I don't even know if that was like a real laugh, like a real life laugh, or if that was like a laugh in character, but all of it was a lie, and I was like, is this the dirtiest euphemism that we've gotten in the Arrowverse period? Because I was like, she was bold with that shit. I was like, okay, she's talking about they're fucking. Like, let's just be honest. Like, Cecile, you're going to be hearing a whole bunch of stuff for like 10 hours. So get ready for that, because they're going to go at it. Hopefully she's a deep sleeper, but then again, with her powers, that's going to wake her up. She's going to be feeling a whole type of something. But anyway, maybe that's one of the benefits of being an empath. There's stuff going on in your house. Anyway, as far as like the cutesy stuff, maybe they'll lead to the sex too. I don't know. But Iris and Barry, adorable, even though they're eating vanilla bean ice cream. Get it like a Rocky Road. Or get like a good cookies and cream, like the fancy brand. Like, that's some good stuff. Vanilla bean. Anyway, no toppings either. Anywho, they were romantic. They were cute. He ended up swapping out all of the cookie dough, bleh, not my favorite, ice cream for the vanilla bean.
Cookie dough is amazing.
I don't know. It's whatever. I enjoy the cookies and cream, so that was my personal preference that I mentioned earlier.
And once again, have to fall back on those three words that I hate to say. Dimitri's right.
Oh, that's nice. I also don't like the mint chocolate chip, but anyway. I know some people like it, and they're obsessed. But anywho,
Can we?
so...
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, just almost done. So the vanilla bean thing was cute, and them being romantic was really nice. I also love the VFX of when he like flipped the magazine and it landed perfectly on the coffee table so that he could get some vanilla bean ice cream. Yeah, I mean it was just adorable. I mean they were sweet. It was wonderful. It was just what we have been yearning for between Iris and Barry for a couple seasons now. I was just glad to see it. And I agree with you, Professor. Usually the stingers are left for creepy stuff, teasers for what's to come or a big bad reveal and that kind of thing. The fact that we got just a nice, sweet scene between our core couple was really nice. Dimitri, you were going to say?
Dimitri, you hate sweetness and joy, so how'd you like the end of the episode?
Well, he loves Iris, though.
I
and
love
apparently
Iris.
Vanilla Bean.
I love sweetness and joy, but can we just acknowledge this one hilarious moment? I don't know if I'm the only one who clocked this, but did you notice
Lady
that
Kronos.
At the final scene when Chester and Allegra kiss, they kind of seem to miss each other's lips? I don't know if the actors are just not comfortable with each other or what, but it did look like they were like one was a little too far to the side of the other, and they both just tried to roll with it. But watch that scene again. I was certain that they tried to kiss and missed, and then everyone just rolled with it.
Well, they've kissed before. I mean, they've had good kisses before, so maybe...
They've had good kisses before, but that one, they seem to... I don't know. Maybe, this is why you shouldn't close your eyes too early. But...
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I was like, wait, hang on a second. Their lips are off to the side. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Maybe it's their foreplay.
Well, it's a little hard, too, when you're leaning over a table.
Evidently.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the MVP section, was there anything anyone wanted to mention? An Easter egg, a Hall of Shame, or a Hall of Fame moment? I just want to mention, so I mentioned, my shout out to the director. I thought, the little humorous moments. I was going to mention the Iris giving the side eye. Also, when Barry, tries to grab the time magnet and is hurled away, and she says, you can't do that, and Barry just gives her a little thumbs up, like, yeah, I kind of got that, thanks. Just some really delightful little humorous moments, in terms of the reactions. I thought that was a very nice touch.
Quick Easter egg shout out. One, Lady Kronos is not just an actual comic book character. She is actually Asian in the comics, which I was not expecting. Two, the actress who played her is Diana Bang, who is Andrea Bang from Kim Convenience's fame sister. So cool. Kim's Convenience being one of the best TV shows ever, for those of you who don't know.
Yes, and until it was unfortunately canceled.
Justice for Kim's Convenience.
I agree. What I want to say is, in regards to the press release and the whole Carla Tannhauser of it all, I didn't, number one, understand why that sentence was in the press release, because it made it seem like such an important storyline for them to show off camera. And maybe they just could not get Carla Tannhauser as an actor to be there in the flesh. So that was a little strange. I will say it was nice to give a shout out just because, she has been an important character throughout the entire Caitlyn storyline, Caitlyn and Frost and all that kind of stuff. So mentioning her was nice, but having her be like a press release storyline focal point was a little odd. Although I will say this, and it's always going to make me laugh, just because we had Danielle Panabaker as Caitlyn for many, many seasons, and I feel like Keone has had much more of an active social life in this series in her series' run than poor Caitlyn did throughout her entire series' run. Like, Keone has friends. She's actually going out to dinner with Barry and Iris. I feel like Caitlyn only socialized with Cisco and her boyfriends until they died. Other than that, I never really saw her hanging out with Iris. Never really saw her hanging out with Barry outside of that one time when she got drunk and Barry took her home, and that's when the whole Snowberry thing started happening on the internet. It's funny to me how Caitlyn had been there for all those seasons and she apparently had zero friends. And now Keone has been here for 5 episodes? 6? Well, no, this is the 8th episode. So about 8 episodes. And she has an active social life.
There was an odd moment with Keone where, so she's coming back from meeting with Carla and saying, oh, I could use a strong maternal figure in my life. Bitch, Iris is standing right in front of you. And have you met Cecile? I was honestly expecting there to be one of those little reaction shots of Iris going, wait, what? Am I chopped liver? But no, it just felt, a little odd with that. But
I don't think
I think
Iris
she's
would
played
be
as such an
maternal
innocent
to
naive
her.
that...
I don't think Iris would be maternal to her though. Like if Iris is going to be anything, it would be like a friend, which is what she's doing, and what she's
still.
Well, big sister. Yeah, that is true. But she's being more of a friend to Keon than she was to Caitlin. But
Justice for Cecile is what I say.
Oh, okay. Well, there is that too. We also did have a little bit more of a taste of Keon's powers. Like, oh no, your baby's gonna be fine. Like, oh, this is that or the other. Oh, and this is the one thing that I've been wanting to mention because I thought about this all throughout the episode last night. They keep on like going hard on Nora. This baby's gonna be Nora, 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 and I'm gonna let Nora tell me what she likes when she gets here. I have a feeling it's not gonna be Nora, right?
Well, I think quite obviously it's not going to be Nora.
Okay.
Just because they have hit that bell so hard.
It's like so hard. Like this is Nora, 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 and then it's either gonna be twins or it's gonna be a boy.
You think they would be getting enough, medical checking on Iris that if it was twins?
No, remember they don't have a medical professional at Star Labs anymore.
That's true. Okay, time for the MVP. State which character impressed you throughout the episode and why. Once a character's been chosen, they cannot be selected again, so choose wisely. I can't remember who went first last time, so I'm just going to flip a coin and say Jeff.
Oh, thank you. Because Dimitri wasn't here. I appreciate it.
That means you got to pick first last time, so obviously it should be Dimitri.
Well, no, but you already picked. I'm going to be nice, though, Dimitri. I'm going to give it to the nerdy lady. I don't even know what her name is.
Tina Fey's taller English twin?
Yes, we'll go with that. I enjoyed the nerdy lady out of the four the most. She was just so fantastic in my eyes, and she brought me joy every time we would see her because she was like so into everything that she was doing, and that added to some of the comedy for me. Also, the fact that she kind of shook Iris West Allen's, she ruffled her feathers a little bit. It was brilliant. So I'm gonna give it to the nerdy lady. I don't know your name. I don't really care to learn it, but you were fantastic in my mind.
Dimitri, who is your MVP and why?
Sounds like the start to the worst love song ever. I don't know your name. I don't really care to learn it. Damn, Jeff.
Yeah,
but
that's what that song.
You vaguely look like a taller English version of Tina Fey.
Yeah, I think that's how the 8675309 song starts.
Well, you guys probably guessed, but I'm gonna give it to Candice Patton. Iris West Allen was an absolute delight in this episode. I feel so robbed because I feel like even a lot of the early episodes that we were discussing that had a lot of comedic moments, not too many of them were centered on Iris because Iris was like beautiful and, the object of Barry's affection. And
# feminism. She was comedic there.
She's kind of like perfect all the time. And we see Barry, being awkward around her, and that's part of what makes her seem, so unattainable for him. But yeah, goddamn, I hope Candice Patton lands a sitcom next or something because this was really funny.
I hate to seem like I'm following in Jeff's slipstream here, but I'm going to choose the mold specialist. He didn't have much to do. I love the way he was doing Mrs. Flash. But like, if you look at, the lines that he was given, it wasn't that much, but the way he played it as sort of, stoner guy, had to have been an actor's choice. And I just really enjoyed him. I thought he played, someone who, and again, because this was a lighter episode, because it was fun, and, the director, obviously told the actors, hey, have some fun with this. He seemed like someone who was actually having fun with that, and fanboying over the Flash and all of that. I thought, for an actor who didn't have a lot to do in the episode, I thought he did a lot with it. Just like as Jeff was saying, with unnamed, whatever her specialty was, the inspector,
nerdy lady.
there. So it's time to rate the episode. How would you rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10 lightning bolts? The point system is allowed, and if you found the episode exceptional, deserving of more than a 10, you may archive the episode in the Flash Museum. Just, not anywhere close to the weapons vault. And by the way, why would you keep an active weapons vault in a museum? I'm just saying. It's good to know Star Labs security 100 years in the future is still as laughably bad as it is today. Dimitri, how would you rate the episode?
I'm going to give it a 9. It made me chuckle. It was funny. It's one of the few episodes in recent memory that I can honestly say I would watch that again. So yeah, I'll give it a 9.
Jeff, how would you rate the episode?
I'm going to come just a tad higher. I'm going to give it a 9.5. It was funny. It was silly. It was goofy. It was romantical. It was a very Legends-y episode of The Flash, but in a very good way. I did not check to see if the writer was also a Legends writer, but, so I have no idea. But the vibe was very different, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And we got a lot of West Allen goodies in this one. So I left this episode incredibly satisfied, like apparently Allegra will be between this episode and the next.
Yeah, I found the episode, very enjoyable as well. I don't know if I'd call it rewatchable, but it might be worth rewatching just for the little humorous moments. But I very much enjoyed it as well. I'll split the difference between the two of you and go with a 9.25, just to ensure peace between the panelists. Join us next time for a brand new installment of The Central City Citizen. Here's our announcer to remind you on how you can interact with us.
Follow Poppy Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, @Poppy Chulo Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychuloradio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo Radio programs by visiting poppychuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Just search for The Central City Citizen and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. My co-host, please wish the listeners good night, starting with Jeff.
Have a good night, listeners. Be safe. Enjoy this mini hiatus before we get into the last 5 episodes of The Flash ever.
Bum, bum, bum. And Dimitri.
Surprised you didn't do the grandfather clock. Gong.
Glong.
But good night, Central City. Get ready for the countdown.
Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to The Central City Citizen via Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. New episodes released every Friday. You can also download the entire series by visiting poppychuloradio.com/archives. Good night.